Why people betray those they love, the psychology of cheating, Old Stoic wisdom. Betrayal is one of the deepest wounds we can experience in relationships. And if you've been hurt by it, it's important to remember it wasn't your fault. If you've been the one to betray, it's worth reflecting, what were you really trying to escape? Betrayal is not simply about the act itself, but about the internal battle that rages between love and fear, between our true selves and the facades we create. Cheating, in particular, is one of the most painful and perplexing human behaviors. It doesn't just shatter trust, it undermines the very essence of our identities, often leaving us questioning our worth. The betrayed person may wonder, was I not enough? Meanwhile, the one who cheats often rationalizes their actions, whether claiming it was a fleeting lapse in judgment or, worse yet, downplaying it as if it meant nothing. But what if it meant everything? In this article, we will explore the psychology behind betrayal, examining why people cheat and the profound impact it has on both individuals involved. Love is composed of a single soul inhabiting two bodies. Aristotle. By understanding the underlying emotional struggles, we can begin to confront these painful truths and seek healing. 1. Betrayal and its deeper truths. Behind every act of betrayal, there's a hidden truth begging to be uncovered. It's not always about the surface, level reasons that we tend to point to, like mere physical attraction or a fleeting desire. No, it's deeper. People cheat because they're desperate to feel seen, to break free from the cage of routine, or because they're terrified of true intimacy that might make them confront their own vulnerabilities. Sometimes it's not about the affair at all. It's about a profound dissatisfaction with themselves, a desperate attempt to seek power, or an escape from pain they don't know how to deal with. The reality is much more complex, but that's the nature of betrayal. It's rooted in something much darker and more intricate than most are willing to admit. You must understand that it isn't always obvious. Infidelity can often be a reflection of someone's inner turmoil. It's not about sex. It's about something that's missing in their lives, often something they feel they can't obtain otherwise. This is not about blame, it's about understanding. And in order to truly understand, you need to recognize that betrayal is like a wound, often inflicted from childhood pain, unmet needs, or insecurities that remain unaddressed in the darkest corners of their mind. The question, why does someone who says, "I love you," turn around and betray you, is not as simple as it seems. It's rooted in layers of unresolved emotional baggage. You must peel back those layers, dig deep, and confront the truth that betrayal is often a cry for help, a desperate grasp for validation, or even an unconscious attempt to escape. This isn't something people do because they don't care. They do it because they're terrified of confronting their inner demons. You need to understand that the roots of this behavior go way beyond the surface. You must accept the reality that everyone, no matter how strong they seem, is carrying some form of emotional baggage. People cheat because they don't have the tools to handle their feelings, their fears, their desires. That's where Old Stoic wisdom comes into play. The Stoic principles offer clarity, the iron mind, trained to stay grounded in the face of temptation and emotional upheaval, could serve as a powerful antidote to the internal chaos that drives betrayal. You need to realize that true strength isn't about suppressing emotions, but about facing them head-on. Stoicism teaches us that it's our reaction to circumstances, not the circumstances themselves, that shape our reality. By embracing Stoic principles, you begin to cultivate the iron mind necessary to protect yourself from the emotional wreckage that often leads to infidelity. It's not just about learning to deal with betrayal, it's about understanding the psychology behind it, acknowledging the deeper truths at play, and using the wisdom of Stoic principles to rise above it. You must let go of the idea that people betray because they are inherently bad or evil. Instead, understand that betrayal often stems from unmet emotional needs and a lack of the mental fortitude to face life's difficulties with grace. Be aware of this. This understanding will free you from resentment and enable you to approach the issue with a clear, focused mind. 2. Betrayal isn't always about a broken relationship. Betrayal doesn't always stem from a broken relationship. Too often, we make the mistake of thinking that cheating happens only when things are falling apart, when there's fighting, emotional distance, or unmet needs. But in reality, infidelity can occur in the most stable relationships, with loving partners and solid foundations. The truth: sometimes, people cheat not because they don't love their partner, but because they no longer recognize themselves. Picture this: a man in a stable, loving relationship, with children, a good job, and a seemingly perfect life. He's not unhappy in the conventional sense. He doesn't have major issues at home, nor is there constant fighting. Yet, he strays. Why? Not because he doesn't love his wife, but because he no longer feels alive. His life has become predictable, routine, even dull. He's no longer the person he used to be. The excitement, the passion, the feeling of being wanted, those things seem distant, and then, in one fleeting moment with someone new, he feels desired, seen, and powerful again. It wasn't love that drove him to cheat. It was the desperate need for validation. In that moment, he wasn't just craving physical intimacy, he was searching for the man he used to be. Don't be fooled by appearances. Betrayal isn't always about dissatisfaction with your partner. Often, it's about dissatisfaction with yourself. This isn't just about men either. Women are equally vulnerable to this kind of inner conflict. Consider the woman who does everything right. She's a good daughter, a loyal girlfriend, a dependable professional, and an all-around good person. But what happens when she meets someone who sees her for who she wants to be, not the person she's been for so long, someone who doesn't know her history, her responsibilities, or the weight of expectations she's been carrying all her life? In that moment, she gets to be someone else, someone freer, wilder, unjudged. And in that illusion, she cheats, not because she no longer loves her partner, but because she's tired of carrying the version of herself that's always been perfect. This is where the wisdom of the Stoic rules comes in. The ancient Stoics understood that self-control and self-awareness were essential for maintaining personal integrity. They also recognized that external circumstances, whether a partner's actions or one's own insecurities, should not dictate our decisions. Practicing practical Stoicism means you must know yourself. Face your desires and frustrations head-on, and take responsibility for your actions. Regardless of how tempting or validating they may seem in the moment, cheating isn't just a betrayal of the person you're with, it's often a betrayal of yourself. When you lose sight of your true self, when you forget your values and your own worth, you become vulnerable to fleeting validation that ultimately leaves you emptier than before. The paths of wisdom lead us to confront our internal struggles, not seek escape or temporary relief through destructive actions. Be honest with yourself. Understand why you feel the need for external validation. What part of you feels unseen, unheard, or unfulfilled? The Stoic rules teach us to reflect inwardly, not outwardly. Only then can we stop seeking validation from others and begin to cultivate true peace and self-worth. Remember, this betrayal often has less to do with your partner and everything to do with how you view yourself. To truly protect your relationships, you must first protect your integrity and self-understanding. Don't cheat on your own growth by ignoring the deeper truths that are begging to be heard. Embrace the Stoic wisdom and take control of your life before it controls you. If this video resonated with you, comment below and share it with someone who could benefit from this insight. Don't forget to subscribe for more wisdom on relationships and self-awareness. Comment to remember, I am in control of my own validation. This statement serves as a reminder that we don't need external approval to feel alive, seen, or valued. Stay mindful and grounded in your own worth. 3. Cheating as a form of escape. Cheating is not merely an act of betrayal, it's a form of escape, a psychological rebellion against emotional stagnation that can deeply affect both parties involved. Often, the person who cheats is not seeking true connection or love, they are chasing an illusion. It's not the physical act of infidelity that drives them, but what it represents an attempt to break free from feelings of powerlessness, to relive the thrill of youth, or to gain attention and admiration that they feel they're lacking. They might crave the feeling of freedom that infidelity offers, but this freedom is deceptive. It's not the kind of freedom that heals or strengthens. It's the freedom of reckless abandonment. It's the dangerous allure of escaping the confines of a relationship that has grown emotionally stagnant, a desperate cry for attention or a moment of thrill to cover deeper insecurities. But this act of betrayal is often rooted in something much darker, unresolved emotional wounds from the past. People who have experienced childhood neglect, abandonment, or betrayal, especially from a parent, are more likely to carry those scars into their relationships. These early emotional wounds shape how they view love, trust, and affection. For them, emotional vulnerability feels unsafe, and the idea of genuine connection might be terrifying because it opens them up to the risk of being hurt again. Their longing for freedom isn't the kind that builds or heals, it's the dangerous kind, an escape from feelings of inadequacy or a fear of being trapped in something they perceive as constricting. But make no mistake, this so-called freedom is not without consequence. It will inevitably come at a price they may regret once the damage is done. As Epictetus, the Stoic philosopher, wisely said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." The act of cheating, while often seen as an attempt to escape, is ultimately an illusion of freedom. It's a temporary solution to a much deeper problem that can only be addressed by facing one's inner demons. It's a rebellion against a painful reality that can only be conquered by taking full control of one's thoughts and emotions. The destructive path of cheating is, in essence, a failure to master one's own mind. It is a misguided attempt at liberation that leads not to freedom, but to further entanglement in emotional chaos. In order to truly win in life, love, and relationships, you must first learn to control your mind and emotions. You must stop being controlled by past wounds, insecurities, and the fleeting desires for escape. Stoicism teaches us that our happiness is not dependent on external circumstances, but on our ability to control our reactions to those circumstances. If you find yourself constantly seeking freedom through destructive means, through affairs, distractions, or reckless behavior, remember the wisdom of Epictetus. Freedom is the only thing you can't lose. But to keep it, you must learn to control your mind, not let it control you. You must recognize that cheating is never a solution, but a symptom of a much deeper problem that must be confronted. Let go of the need for temporary satisfaction and choose a more powerful path, the path of self, mastery, emotional growth, and Stoic wisdom. The Stoics understood that true freedom is not found in escaping reality, but in accepting it, mastering your emotions, and making decisions that strengthen your character. It's time to stop sabotaging yourself and your relationships. Stop running away from pain. Face it head on. Confront your past. Address your insecurities. And choose the path that leads to lasting victory. This is the way to win in life. It's time to break free, not from relationships or responsibilities, but from the emotional chains that hold you back. Let's win, and let's do it the right way. 4. Cognitive dissonance and justification. Don't fool yourself. Cheating isn't just a betrayal of trust. It's an internal battle that most people never see. The mind, like a disoriented ship caught in a storm, starts to split after the act. On one side, there's the belief that you're a good person, a decent, moral being. On the other side, there's the knowledge of your actions, a stark contradiction to everything you claim to stand for. It's the kind of cognitive dissonance that causes mental chaos. This is where justification enters the picture. It's not for your partner's sake, it's for your own fragile ego. You tell yourself, "It didn't mean anything. It just happened," or "I wasn't in love with them." But these excuses, as tempting as they are nothing more than smoke and mirrors. They are attempts to ease your guilt, to reconcile your actions with yourself, image, and most importantly, to avoid facing the ugly truth. The mind, in its desperation to preserve a sense of integrity, creates these elaborate stories to convince itself that what happened wasn't really a moral failing. But let's be clear, this isn't a defense of your actions. It's a defense of your pride. The Old Stoic wisdom teaches us that true strength lies in facing reality without flinching. An iron mind, forged through the Stoic principles, doesn't shy away from the uncomfortable truths of life. It doesn't create excuses to preserve a false sense of self-worth. Instead, it acknowledges mistakes, learns from them, and moves forward with clarity. You must be willing to confront the raw, unfiltered truth about your actions, not bury it under layers of self-serving justifications. Stoic principles teach that avoiding discomfort only weakens you in the long run. In the face of betrayal, it's easy to lie to yourself, to twist the narrative in your favor, but in doing so, you rob yourself of growth. Real change comes from accepting the full weight of your actions, from refusing to distort the truth just to feel better about yourself. And if you don't make this change, if you don't embrace this uncomfortable reality, you'll never break free from the chains of self-deception. So, remember, don't let your mind be your enemy. Don't let it spin a web of lies to protect your pride. Be the kind of man who stands firm in the face of his mistakes, who uses them as stepping stones rather than barriers. That is the true path to strength, a path laid out by ancient wisdom and tested by time. When you embrace the principles of Stoicism, when you cultivate an iron mind, the world of excuses and justifications fades into nothingness. What remains is the clarity of truth. If you've ever wondered why people betray those they love, it comes down to the conflict inside their own minds. Cognitive dissonance and justification can trick them into thinking their actions were harmless, when deep down, they know it's the opposite. So if you've ever been affected by betrayal or had to face your own choices, drop a comment right now. I confront my truth, no matter the cost. Like this video, subscribe for more powerful insights, and remember, the truth might be hard, but it's the only thing that sets you free. 5. Emotional cheating, a subtle form of betrayal. Imagine this: a man, late at night, texting an old flame. It starts innocent enough, a simple, "How have you been?" But before he knows it, the conversation deepens. They talk about things he no longer shares with his wife, personal struggles, childhood memories, dreams for the future. Words flow more freely than ever, and soon, they're calling each other soulmates. There's no physical touch, no outward signs of infidelity, but don't be fooled. This is still betrayal. Emotional cheating is the silent assassin of relationships, creeping in when you least expect it, and often leaving more damage in its wake than any affair ever could. Why? Because emotional intimacy is a subtle thief. At first, it's an innocent form of connection, but over time, it erodes the bond between you and your partner. The truth is, once someone else takes that space in your heart, the place that should be reserved for your significant other, it's much harder to rebuild trust. It's not about the absence of physical touch, it's about the absence of emotional exclusivity. And let's be clear, betrayal isn't defined by the absence of sex, but by the presence of someone else who becomes a primary confidant, a silent competitor for your partner's affections. The psychology behind it. Why do we cheat emotionally? You must understand. The desire for emotional connection is universal. We all need someone to confide in, to share our deepest vulnerabilities with. That's natural. But here's the catch. There's a line that must not be crossed. When that connection begins to replace what should be shared within your committed relationship, that's when the trouble starts. It's easy to see why so many men fall into this trap. It starts off innocently enough, just a catching up text, a few laughs over a past memory. But before long, the conversations become more meaningful, more emotionally involved. You must be aware this isn't harmless. This is an emotional investment that is taking something crucial from your relationship. In practical Stoicism, we are taught to be mindful of where we place our energies. The Stoic rules emphasize maintaining control over our impulses, guarding our emotions, and staying grounded in our commitments. If we allow ourselves to invest emotionally in someone outside of our relationship, we are betraying the very foundation of trust that a healthy relationship requires. That's why it's essential to recognize when you are crossing that line and to stop before it's too late. Emotional cheating, a path of wisdom. The path of wisdom doesn't lead you to betray the trust of someone who loves you. It teaches you to find fulfillment in your existing relationships and to communicate openly and honestly with your partner. When you start looking outside for the emotional intimacy you should be sharing with your spouse, you are choosing the wrong path. You are choosing a path that leads to disappointment, hurt, and, eventually, betrayal. The Stoic teachings urge us to cultivate strong, lasting relationships that are built on mutual respect, honesty, and emotional loyalty. Emotional cheating undermines all of that. It's not just about being physically faithful, it's about being emotionally present. You must honor your commitments and remember that true strength lies in resisting the temptation to take shortcuts when it comes to intimacy and emotional bonds. Don't make the mistake of thinking it's harmless. Don't let yourself be deceived into thinking that emotional cheating is any less damaging than physical cheating. It may not involve a kiss, a touch, or a night spent in someone else's arms, but it does involve the heart, and that is far more dangerous. It's a slow, burning fire that may seem small at first, but before long, it has consumed everything. Be aware and be wise. The path to true fulfillment in relationships lies in emotional honesty and openness, not in secret exchanges and hidden connections. Emotional cheating is the subtle, quiet killer of trust. Don't let it creep into your life. Keep your heart, your mind, and your emotions loyal to the person who deserves them. 6. The aftermath of betrayal. Betrayal, whether in love or trust, leaves a scar that can't be easily erased. The moment the cheater crosses the line, the initial thrill quickly fades into a dark void of guilt, shame, and fear. A hollow emptiness consumes them. They thought they could escape the consequences, but instead, they fall into a psychological trap. You see, the betrayal is not just about the partner who is hurt, it's about the cheater losing a part of themselves. They become a version of themselves they swore they'd never be. The identity they once had begins to unravel. Their mind starts justifying the act, but not to the betrayed partner. They do this to escape the truth, to avoid the unbearable weight of their own actions. As they drift further from who they once were, the silence that follows the betrayal becomes deafening. It's not a dramatic explosion, it's the quiet collapse of what once was. For the one who has been betrayed, the aftermath is nothing short of catastrophic. The sense of trust shatters, leaving nothing but a broken foundation beneath their feet. Everything feels like a lie. You're left wondering if you were ever enough. The trauma takes hold, turning your thoughts into an endless loop of doubt and confusion. The pain doesn't just linger, it manifests in obsessive thoughts, sleepless nights, and a psychological battle between self, blame, and uncontrollable rage. You begin to question your own worth. You want to understand why, but the answers often don't come. And even if they do, the damage is done. Betrayal cuts deep, leaving wounds that may never fully heal. This is where the ancient wisdom of Stoicism, as taught by Epictetus, can guide us. Epictetus once said, "Wealth consists not in having great possessions, but in having few wants." The truth in this teaching is clear. Our peace of mind, our ability to endure life's hardest trials, is not determined by what happens to us, but by how we respond. If you've been betrayed, you cannot control the actions of others, but you can control how you let it affect you. You must regain your sense of self-worth, not by clinging to the past, but by moving forward with strength. Remember, as Epictetus teaches, it's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. You cannot change the past, but you can change your future. In modern life, too many men let themselves be defined by the betrayals they suffer. Don't. Use this moment as fuel to reclaim your power, your identity. Win back your confidence. Stop living in the shadow of someone else's choices. You must take control. You must master your mind. Stand tall and let go of the anger, the bitterness, the hurt. That's not who you are. That's not your story. Your story is one of resilience. The Stoics understood that true strength lies in the ability to endure adversity with grace. You must be stoic. Embrace the struggle. Win the battle for your mind. The road to victory is not about holding on to what was, but in shaping what will be. The path forward is yours to decide. Win like a Stoic. If you find today's content useful to you, don't forget to share your feelings and lessons with us, or simply comment "very cool." It's a great encouragement for our channel makers. Thank you very much. 7. Emotional compartmentalization and the double life. Emotional compartmentalization and living a double life are tactics the cheater often resorts to, trying to manage the split between who they were and who they've become. They may swing from being overly affectionate, driven by guilt, to distant and avoidant, irritated by the smallest of things. This split behavior is the mind's way of managing the inner chaos after betrayal, but let me tell you, it's not a sustainable solution. The cheater may think they've managed to juggle two worlds, but the truth is, they're decaying from the inside. The weight of that deception eats at their integrity and their mental state. Now, for the one on the receiving end of the betrayal, the signs don't always come in the form of hard evidence, at least not at first. But they can feel it, an energy shift, a change in how their partner looks at them, a coldness that wasn't there before. It's the creeping suspicion that something has changed, something deep and irreversible. And when the truth finally bursts to the surface, it's like the earth shifts beneath your feet. It doesn't just break your heart, it shatters your reality. Everything you thought you knew about the person you loved, everything you believed about your life together, comes into question. This isn't just emotional pain, it's psychological trauma that cuts deeper than any physical wound. It's the kind of betrayal that forces you to rethink your own worth, to question every interaction, every moment you thought was genuine. Now, let's not sugarcoat it, this pain can be unbearable, but you must learn to take a stand, be strong, be the one who finds strength in the midst of suffering. This is where old Stoic wisdom comes into play. The Stoics taught us that the mind must remain unshaken by external events. No matter how painful, you must develop an iron mind, one that can withstand the worst betrayals, and come out stronger. Life is hard, yes, but the Stoic principles show us that we can control our reactions. You must refuse to let this betrayal break you. The truth will hurt, but don't let it destroy your peace of mind. Remember, a man who follows the old Stoic wisdom remains anchored in his principles. Even when everything falls apart, you must stand firm in your own integrity. The pain of betrayal is a test of your strength, your resolve, your ability to keep moving forward despite the deceit. It's a test of your iron mind. Be the man who rises above the emotional wreckage. Life doesn't stop for your pain, but the strength you draw from Stoic principles will guide you through it. You must decide, right now, to keep your heart and mind intact. Don't let betrayal rule your life. Instead, embrace your power to heal, to understand, and to live without fear of the future. 8. Understanding the roots of betrayal, attachment, and trauma. Betrayal doesn't just happen overnight. It grows in the shadows of the past, deep within the emotional soil that was watered long ago. In fact, cheating often starts much earlier than we think, in the moments when we were most vulnerable, back in childhood. That's where the seeds of betrayal are first sown. The person who betrays the one they love doesn't always know it, but their actions are often a direct reflection of unresolved attachment trauma. Take the man who cheats on every woman he's with. He's not a bad person, nor is he incapable of love, but something within him keeps pushing people away. Maybe his mother was emotionally distant, and no matter how much he longed for her love, she kept her distance. Every time he tried to get close, she withdrew. As a result, he learned that love equals fear. So, as an adult, when someone loves him too much, he panics. His automatic response is to sabotage it. He runs. He cheats, not because he doesn't love his partner, but because he fears love itself, because his earliest lessons about love were steeped in abandonment. Similarly, think about the woman who repeatedly cheats, even when she loves her partner. She may have grown up with an absent father, or one who wasn't emotionally available. That void, left unfilled, manifests as a desperate hunger for validation. She seeks attention elsewhere, not because her partner is lacking, but because she believes she is. It's a deep, ingrained need for self-affirmation, rooted in her childhood wounds. This is the hidden psychology of betrayal, attachment trauma that is passed on through the generations, and which shapes our adult behaviors in ways we don't always understand. Now, let's zoom out and look at the bigger picture. Attachment trauma doesn't just influence one relationship, it influences the entire course of our emotional lives. We don't just betray the people we love, we betray ourselves, and we do it because we've never truly learned how to heal the wounds of the past. Stoic wisdom teaches us that before we can truly love and be loved, we must first learn to love ourselves. You must confront your own inner turmoil before you can expect peace in your relationships. Be mindful of the paths of wisdom that have come down to us through centuries of thought and reflection. Stoic rules are not just philosophical fluff, they are practical ways to heal and overcome the emotional baggage that holds us back. They remind us to look inward, to accept what is within our control, and to free ourselves from the emotional chains that come from old traumas. In that space of self-awareness, we can finally move past the old wounds and stop the cycle of betrayal. You must not ignore the wisdom that is waiting to be unlocked. Healing doesn't come by ignoring your past or running away from your fears. Be committed to your own growth. Practical Stoicism offers tools that you can use today to reshape your mindset and start a new chapter. It's not about being perfect. It's about facing the pain and moving through it, not around it. Don't let your history define your future. That is the path of true freedom, to rise above your past, not be dictated by it. So, the next time you face a temptation or feel the urge to betray someone's trust, pause. Look inward and ask yourself, why? What fear, what unhealed wound lies beneath that impulse? Stoic wisdom teaches us that the key to healing and true love lies within us. You must commit to your own emotional healing before you can offer authentic love to others. Only then can you break the chain of betrayal that's bound you and truly live free. If you've ever wondered why betrayal happens, understand this. It's often rooted in deep childhood trauma and unmet emotional needs. But here's the thing, you don't have to stay trapped in these cycles. Healing starts with understanding the wounds that cause us to repeat destructive patterns. If this resonates with you, comment below. I am ready to break free from the past and heal. Let's take this journey together. 9. Cultural and psychological factors. In today's world, the temptation to betray is stronger than ever, fueled by cultural shifts and psychological triggers. The rise of dating apps, social media, and pornography continuously feeds us the false notion that there are endless options, causing commitment to seem optional and disposable. People are encouraged to seek constant novelty and excitement, feeding into a dopamine-driven cycle that leaves relationships vulnerable. This environment makes infidelity more acceptable and even expected. But don't be fooled. This false sense of freedom is a trap. True strength, true victory, is in mastering your desires, not yielding to them. As Epictetus, the ancient Stoic philosopher, wisely said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." This idea is at the heart of Stoicism, a philosophy that teaches us to control our responses to external temptations and challenges. Stoicism isn't just about avoiding infidelity, it's about mastering your emotions, actions, and thoughts. To betray those we love is often rooted in weakness, in the failure to understand our deeper responsibilities and values. When we seek constant pleasure at the expense of others, we fail to grasp the true meaning of fulfillment. Betrayal, in all its forms, is born from dissatisfaction, an internal void that we try to fill with external distractions. But don't look outside for answers. Look inside. You must build your character. Strength is built on your ability to endure discomfort, to face temptation with resolve, and to understand that the pursuit of pleasure at the cost of others will only leave you hollow. The Stoic teachings of Epictetus are clear. First say to yourself what you would be, and then do what you have to do. In other words, define the person you want to be, and then live according to that vision. Don't allow outside forces, whether it's social media, fleeting attraction, or temporary pleasure, to dictate your actions. That is the way to true strength. Stoicism teaches us that we must win the battle against our impulses every day, mastering our desires rather than letting them control us. Commit to your principles, and you will discover true fulfillment, a fulfillment that no fleeting distraction can offer. By doing so, you won't just avoid betrayal, you'll transcend it. You'll create a life of victory, purpose, and resilience. The philosophy of Stoicism is your guide, your blueprint to win. Let it shape your every action. You must be determined. You must resist. Your victory is in your hands. Hey, thanks for watching, and I really appreciate you taking the time to dive into this complex topic with me. Look, betrayal is hard. It leaves scars, whether you're the one who's hurt or the one who made a mistake. But remember this, we're all human. We all make choices we regret. The real power comes when we confront the truth of those choices. No distractions, no excuses. Whether it's about healing from betrayal or understanding it in a deeper way, it all boils down to self-awareness and honesty. My advice: if you're ever in a moment of pain or confusion, take a step back, look in the mirror, face the truth, not just about what happened, but about who you are and who you want to be. And from there, choose love that's real, not fleeting. It takes work, but the strength to rebuild comes from within you. Take care of yourselves, and remember, growth comes from honesty, even when it's hard.